Sinclair Ross. Their names are Martha, Ellen, and Anne. And Martha, I chose peace because in the story, all the wheat crops are dead, and she expresses her feelings to John through peas because it's his favorite food. I chose a cross for Ellen because in the story the baby dies, and I thought that was very important photo to include for this. I chose pain for Anne because at the end of the story they go and find John, and he is dead because of the frost and the cold, and he has paint all over his hands from previous actions that Anne has done. For the hopes, I chose the category happiness because they want their men to be cleaned up just like the picture I included here. They want some pretty things, which includes watches, dresses, heels, all that stuff. And I chose a picture of a family because that's all they really want. And in one story, Martha just wants her kids to be able to go to school. The quote I chose is, "It isn't right to leave me here alone. Surely I am just as important as your father." It explains how needy she was at the time because she didn't want her husband to go to his father's farm. For fears, I chose lost because all the marriages in the story are going downhill. So I chose a picture that has like marriage and split up or whatever. I chose a broken heart because they are broken in the story. You can tell by the way they act and all that. In this picture, I chose Homer Simpson and Marge, and in the photo, Homer is there, but he's not there with like, monkeys and all that stuff. The quote I chose is, "Will you shave then, John, now before you go?" I chose that one because they feel like they lost their men and they want to regain them back, and that's one of their fears. For the memories, I chose the past just because they really grieve on the past of how the men used to be. I chose a picture of Rapunzel and Flynn Rider. He's staring at her passionately. This is on Twitter a lot, and it's like captioned, "All girls want men to look at her like this." So that's what I chose. I also chose stick people getting married with hearts because that's what they dwell on, is the past marriage happiness. I chose a happy woman she's throwing arms around because they all aspire to be happy and they just want their men back. For the quote I chose, his voice was gruff, never broke in a deep, strong laughter that used to make her feel she was living at the heart of things. John was gone, love was gone. There was only wheat. And that explains how she just wants her man back, but he's too into the wheat, so she feels like she's not really there for him. The men are John, Paul, and John. And for John, I chose wheat because his life does revolve around wheat. For Paul, I chose a crop because that's all he wants is a good crop. And for the other John, I chose a man mowing the lawn because in the story he goes and helps his father with some chores. For hopes, I chose the category successful because all they want is good wheat, make profit off their farms, and this picture is a farmer giving the thumbs up because I thought that was necessary to add since all the men want to be happy with their farms. The quote I chose was, "It was the best crop of wheat that John had ever grown, sturdy, higher than the knee, the heads long and filling well, a still heat-hushed mile of it, into shimmer of summer, colts and crushed horizon blue." It explains how successful the crops were, and that's what they all want. For fears, I chose the category unsuccessful because they do not want to say goodbye to the farms, and numerous times in each story it mentions how the men are almost feeling like they should leave, but the women are like explaining that they should leave, but they don't believe it. I chose storms because they don't want the storms to kill their crops, and I chose dead crop because if they have dead crops, all their time would be wasted. The quote I chose was, "There were two winds, the wind in flight and the wind that pursued. The one sought refuge in eaves, whimpering in fear, and the other assailed it there, and shook the eaves apart to make it flee again." I chose that one because it explains how the crops can be destroyed by all these storms that keep occurring in each story. For memories, I chose the past success because numerous times in each story. It tells you about how they wish the storms would stop coming so they could have successful farms as shown here and a successful crop as shown here. The quote I chose was, "You'll see it come back. There's good wheat in it yet, but in the meantime, year after year, can't you understand, Paul? We'll never get them back." That being said, it explains that the crops were at one time in good state, and that would be categorized under the successful team and all that. So yeah,